call the Saline City Council meeting to order. If you'd please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We welcome those of you who are in the audience this evening. As a reminder, there are agendas on the back table along with a sign-up sheet and listening or hearing devices, if you require them. Members present this evening are Council Members Gearboss, CO, Rice, Lesh, Harmount, Mayor Pro Tem Dillon, and Mayor Marl. From City staff, we have City Manager Swallow, Clerk Royal, Engineer Humphreys, Community Development Director Aitken, and Parks and Rec Director Lambert. Is that everybody? I believe it is. Is there a motion at this time to approve the agenda as submitted unless there are amendments?
I'll move it. I have one item to remove.
Okay, is that on consent, Mr. Gearboss?
Yes.
Why don't we just get to that when, yeah, yep. So you want to make a motion then to approve as submitted?
Correct.
Okay, and I'll entertain your removal of the consent agenda when we get to that portion of the agenda. Mr. Seal, was that the second? Were you the second?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the agenda as submitted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously. There are no absences this evening, so we'll proceed to the first of two public comment periods. And this public comment period is limited to agenda items. Under the Open Meetings Act, any person may come forward at this time and make a comment or question on any item that appears on this agenda, and that's both discussion items and enumerated action items. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Those wishing to speak are requested but not required to state their name and address for the record. Before you begin your comments, please clearly state the specific agenda item you are addressing. Please note that council will not answer questions during this initial public comment period. Are there any citizen comments this evening? Please, you have 3 minutes. Tyler, make sure the green light is illuminated at the base of that microphone, is it? Maybe tap on it.
I'm colorblind, so...
That's on. Okay. Yep, you're good. Please begin.
My name is Tyler Kinley, 441 South Ashley Street, Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'm coming to just say a couple things. I know the green space is on the discussion item. That's the project I happen to be working on. I wanted to say I know that there's a plan to have me do a more formal proposal and update with information on it in a coming meeting, I think probably in either January or February. But in between now and then, I simply wanted to make myself available to any and all current and future council members to provide any level of information and detail going in because it is a complex project. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot that's happened in the past year, and I would be more than happy to provide detailed information to whoever, and I will also reach out to people if they're interested. So I appreciate your time, and that's it. Thanks.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Kinley. Are there additional citizen comments on any agenda items? Let me defer to the city clerk. Were there any written comments provided in advance of tonight's meeting in which the individual wanted their remarks read at this time? Easy enough. Then we will transition to the presentation portion of our agenda. And first up is a special presentation. Mr. Goodman, I don't happen to see, you're actually next, Mr. Rubel. Hang tight. I know you're excited to talk about the progress in our wastewater treatment plant. We appreciate that. Do you know where the cordless mic is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. If you wouldn't mind bringing that forward, and I would invite council members CO and Lesh to join me up front.
Jack, you're the senior member here.
Well, okay. Gentlemen, as is our custom, we wanted to recognize both of you because this is sort of a bittersweet moment. This is your last council meeting. Jack, after 10 years of service as an elected official, Mr. Lesh, Chuck, as after 2 years. And City Council and the citizens of Saline would like to present you both with some plaques. And I'd like to read them both and then share a few remarks. And then if you'd like to say something for the public record, we will welcome that. So I'm going to begin with Mr. Seal. The City of Saline, John Jack Seal. Whereas Jack Seal has served the citizens of the City of Saline as a council member from January 2016 through December 2025. And whereas during the past 10 years, Jack Seal has served the City of Saline as a member or delegate to the following: Oakwood Cemetery Board Chair, Environmental Commission, Southeast Michigan Councils of Government, Zoning Board of Appeals, Finance Committee, and Communication Work Group, to name a few. And whereas Jack's lifetime dedication, leadership, and commitment to the Saline community have helped to make the Saline a better place to live. Now therefore be it resolved that the Saline City Council, on behalf of the citizens of Saline, do hereby thank Jack Seal for his many contributions to the welfare of our community with sincere best wishes. Excuse me, would somebody mind? Thank you, Janet. With sincere best wishes for continued success in all his future endeavors, and this is presented to Jack Seo by the Saline City Council on behalf of the citizens of Saline on December the 15th, 2025.
Thank you.
And Chuck, the city clerk worked out a Christmas miracle because there was a typo on your plaque that I discovered about 2 weeks ago, and the gentleman who took the lead on producing these for us returned it this evening at 5 p.m.
Wow.
So this proclamation reads, the City of Saline, Charles Lesh. Whereas Charles Chuck Lesh has served at the City of Saline as a council member from January 2024 through December 2025. Whereas during the past 2 years, Chuck Lesh has served the city as a member or delegate to the following: Saline Fire Board, Arts and Culture Committee, Policy Committee Chair, Risk Mitigation Working Group, and Asset Management Subcommittee. And whereas Chuck Lesh's lifetime dedication, leadership, and commitment to the Saline community have helped to make Saline a better place. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Saline City Council, on behalf of the citizens of Saline, do hereby thank Chuck Lesh for his many contributions to the welfare of our community, with sincere best wishes for continued success in all of his future endeavors. And again, this is presented by the Saline City Council on behalf of the citizens of Saline on December the 15th, 2025. Let me just say a few additional things, and then I'll yield the floor to council members Seo and Lesh, respectively. I would consider them both not only colleagues, but friends. And their tenure on city council did not begin their commitment and service to the Saline community. If I have my history correct, Mr. Seo began serving the city in the mid-1980s as an appointee under Mayor Don Shelton on the Parks and Beautification Committee.
Actually, in the 70s.
In the 70s, excuse me, so even further back. And then Mr. Seo served on Planning Commission for a number of years as an elected school board member, and of course a very distinguished career as both the deputy police chief in Arbor and the city of Saline. So he has a very impressive and distinguished career in public service, and that has made not only Saline but the broader Washtenaw County community a better place. Similarly, Mr. Lesh had also served on school board for a number of years, and actually both gentlemen were school board presidents for a stint, if I recall correctly. Mr. Lesh also served on a number of boards and committees, and I'm hopeful that he will rejoin a number of boards and committees in the 2026 calendar year. But much like Mr. Seo, he has committed a large portion of his life to the betterment of the Saline community, and we greatly appreciate that. So, gentlemen, let's give them a warm round of applause. And then, Mr. Seo, if you'd like to begin, I think both of you have some family here tonight.
Yes, I do. I have my wife, Pamela. She's sitting back there. She's in no small part responsible for whatever I've done in my lifetime, because she shared the headaches and the burdens and the complaints that I brought home. So I just want to say, though, it's been my honor and my privilege to have served as the representative of the citizens on this city council. And I hope that the place is a little bit better as a result. So, thank you.
And I too have my wife Jane here, retired dentist of Saline, many years in the Saline community. And since she is retired now, that was one of the motivating factors for me to step back from quite as active a role in the city. But I do want to echo my colleagues' gratitude to all of the members of the council, and especially all city staff and everybody who keeps the lights on in the city of Saline. It's a wonderful place to live, where we've we've chosen it to be our place to live and die. So we appreciate everything that everybody here does for the city, and we truly appreciate our time here with all of you.
And gentlemen, in addition to the plaques, we have a few small gifts over here to my left that we hope that you'll retrieve at the end of tonight's meeting. And again, we thank you for your service. Appreciate it. Speak with you. Pleasure. I'll be around.
Chuck, thank you so much. Be around.
The floor is yours. appreciate your enthusiasm and of equal importance your attendance this evening, Mr. Rubel. I believe your PowerPoint is up on the screen. This is a timely update. I think it's been several months since we've last seen you. I think the community will benefit from receiving an update on the wastewater treatment plant, and hopefully we can have you back maybe late winter or spring to provide another update. With that, make sure that microphone is on. The floor is yours. Let me preface, I don't recall a month ago when I was last in attendance who I began with for questions, so I'll defer to my right this evening and let our outgoing council members ask the first series of questions. So I'll begin with Lesh and then transition to CO and with council members Harmount and then myself. Mr. Rubel, the floor is yours. Again, thank you for your time this evening.
Well, my pleasure, Mayor, Council. Happy holidays to you all. Yeah, it has been a few months, and I just say the word. I'll be here whenever you need me. So I don't live far away. Yeah, this is intent to give you an update. I have quite a bit more photography than I had last time. Things are taking shape. They're actually looking like treatment processes at this point, not holes in the ground. So I think this will be educational. So I organized this very similarly to how I did the past updates. So bear with me that the first few slides are merely a summary of the journey that we're on together. And then I'll give you some highlights of progress on that journey. So this slide simply reiterates the processes that we are touching, improving at the wastewater plant. The headworks building is at the head of the plant, very important part of the plan, and we'll show some really good progress on that building. There's a maintenance building in the contract. Additional primary clarifier, that's the first process really which solids start to settle out. The real engine of the treatment plant will be the new biological process, the aeration tanks, replacing the rotating biological contactors as the biological process. We are constructing a wet weather storage tank, which will be very helpful to manage the peak flows during wet weather. Will really improve the performance of the plant by not overwhelming it during wet weather periods. Then we're modifying the biosolids process, which is the process that once we've removed solids from the wastewater to manage them and dispose of them. And we'll talk about the screw press that we are installing to do that and show you some preliminary photographs of that. We're also improving instrumentation at some remote pump stations. And that really hasn't started yet, but it is on the schedule for the first part of 2026. I think a picture will help a great deal. This is a rendering of your current plant from the southeast, kind of on the Salt Springs Park area, up above, if you were a drone maybe, or up in a tree looking in northwesterly direction. This is actually the improved plan, and I think the next slide highlights the processes that we're touching. And I'm going to go kind of in a clockwise rotation, starting from the left side, which is the headworks building. Then we go north. The maintenance building is on the left side of that road. The primary clarifier is on the right side. The wet weather storage tank is on a small hill. It's a dome structure. To the right of that is the aeration tank and the lower solids building in the foreground of that tank. Then the circular tank to the right is the secondary clarifier. They go hand in hand. We have the organism consume the organic matter and they settle out in the secondary clarifier. And then on the lower right is the digester improvements. Those have not started, so I'm not going to have any photographs of those tonight. But the equipment's been ordered and on schedule. So by not seeing the photographs, please don't be alarmed that that is not proceeding. So this is the headworks in the southwest corner of the project, and I'm pleased to report that that is now operating. And we are in fact screening all of the wastewater, and we have new pumps that deliver that wastewater up the hill for the subsequent treatment processes. And it was very close to being complete when I was here in August, and it is in fact running now. I took these photographs right at Thanksgiving. Unfortunately, a little muddy and a little construction traffic and items in front of it, but it will look very similar to that rendering when that gets cleaned up and restored. But that building is now operating. And these photographs actually show the inside of that. What you see on these screens are the screens. So these stainless steel devices actually have a 1/4 inch screen below them that the wastewater passes through, and it traps all the solid matter, the papers, plastics, and things that make their way into the wastewater stream, to prevent that from getting downstream and interfering with pumps and pipes and things like that. So we're removing them right here at the head of the plant. They are screened down below in the flow, and that they are raked up to the top where they're put in these conveyors and then pushed horizontally into a dumpster that you can see on the right there. So there's 2 of these. It's redundant. If one of them were to temporarily break, we've got another one that is processing the wastewater. We just recently started to get screenings out of that tube, that conveyor system. It took over a month for that to accumulate and get enough matter, but it is now starting to fill that dumpster, at which point a garbage truck can come and take it away. So it's very exciting that's happening. And this is a look downward from the first floor down into the basement level. Those are 4 raw sewage pumps. So those are pumping the water then that come into the plant and lifting them up the hill to the treatment processes at the north side of the plant. The perspective's a little interesting here. It's not horizontal with your eyes. I'm looking down at it, but these are actually pumps that can be submerged in water and still operate. So if there was a leaky pipe or, God help us, a very, very large flood of any sort, these pumps would still operate and keep the plant running. The maintenance building is next on the rotation. We have not gotten very started on that. So I don't have a ton to show you other than just some minor site grading that's occurred thus far. But the primary clarifier is getting close. Should be operational next month. And this is shown now ground level into the side of it. It looks very much like the nearly complete clarifier at this point. So again, next month we'll be starting that. The wet water storage tank will be one of the last things completed. In fact, the construction trailers right now are sitting on the site of this tank. So, but all that steel has been ordered, and we're getting ready to move to that here in the next couple of months. Again, just another rendering of the tank from Monroe Street, trying to kind of disguise it with trees the best we can and soften the look a little bit of it. So this is really the engine of the treatment plant, the biological processes, the aeration tanks. So they are supported by the building, which has the blowers in it. So we are adding oxygen into the wastewater here for the organisms to consume the organic matter, and then we remove the organisms in the next step. So there's a lot going on in that building. That building will also house the sludge processing, the biosolids processing, which is the screw press, which I'll show you pictures of. So I have a lot of photographs inside that building that I'll be showing you, because it is taking shape right now. This is not just another photograph of those aeration tanks. They're looking darn similar to the rendering that I showed you. You see the railings are up there now. There's an overhead pipe support, which will take the aeration pipes down and into the tank so that the oxygen can get transferred. Again, on the right side is the support building. The masonry is not yet on that building. Right now, that orange tint is just the insulation you're seeing. It will look much nicer in a few months when we get the block around it. So I know the neighbors have asked about the orange building, but it will not be orange much longer. So most of the next photographs are inside that building. And on the left are the blowers. So they are on site, they are on their pads, not quite hooked up yet, but they're there, pretty much getting close to doing their job. So they're very sophisticated blowers. They are controlled by actually the oxygen levels in those tanks. So we only provide enough oxygen to do the work, and we can control it. We don't want to put too much oxygen in it because that's kind of wasted energy at that point. So we can control and just put the optimal amount of oxygen that we need into the wastewater. On the right side is actually the screw press for the biosolids. So at the very end of the process, after we remove the solids, that screw press will actually compress the solids and squeeze out extra water so that it is somewhat dry and can go to a landfill if the city so chose to do that. So the secondary clarifier works hand in hand with the aeration tank. This removes the microorganisms that have consumed the waste that is there. And that is also almost ready to be started. The right is actually a photograph inside that clarifier. We don't often see those mechanisms that are in there, but they rotate and they move any of the solid matter to the center where it gets pumped out. It also has an arm that takes floating objects away as well. That's a very important part, and it's pretty much there ready to go. So just also have fairly good news on the schedule. The contractor, when I was here in August, was starting to get a little bit farther behind with a few items, and I'm pleased to report that they've kind of caught back up on those, and they're still about 45 days behind the contract dates, but we can really attribute a great deal of that to a little bit of a slow start we had with resolving the disposals of the soil at the beginning of the project. So they certainly have maintained the baseline pretty well, all in all. So yes, just like I mentioned, it caught up. Continue to talk about schedule efficiencies and keeping things on track. That's a pretty regular, almost weekly discussion we have with them. The contract does contain some clauses monetarily that will help keep things on track. The contract does not want to pay for those, so there's an incentive for them to stay on track. Again, the headworks is operating. We're screening the matter, we're pumping. The odor control system that is in that building is not quite connected. It will be, I hope, the next couple of weeks. Particularly the vendor that provided that needs to be there to start it up, and they had a restriction in their schedule, but we're trying to get that established. And 2026 is going to be very busy for the project. We are literally starting equipment pretty much every month of 2026. So that's just the way construction projects work, is they kind of all the work goes into it, and then the last few months they all come together and get started. So looking forward to it. I think things are shaping up quite well for 2026, and it will be exciting and successful.
Very good. Yes, please.
Yeah, I mean, just some things we've completed, and this was a similar slide we had last time. Headworks has started. Firefighters are there. Within a few weeks will be started. Aeration and solids are just a few weeks behind that, January, February timeframe. We talked last time about the software, and we've got both the water plant and the wastewater plant running on the new software. That's been extremely helpful. Mr. Briggs called me today with a question on the plant operation, and my staff could literally pull up the plant remotely through a secure network and talk him through it, what he was seeing and why he was seeing that. It's been extremely helpful. Yeah, most products are on site. You saw those buildings. Most of the big equipment is already in the tanks in the building. And pretty much most of the underground work is done. There's a little bit more to go, but we have utilities in, and we're really connecting the dots here at this point, bringing it all home. Those are almost month-to-month dates here that things will be happening. And as I mentioned, that digester cover will be one of the last things in May and June. Everything's on order. So.
Very good, Mr. Rubel. Thank you. Appreciate the information. Before we open up for questions from council, let me defer to the city manager. Mr. Swallow, is there anything you'd like to add at this time?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We're working right now on some of the extension requests with Eagle, so that's just based on a couple of items that are behind schedule. So that'll be submitted probably this week yet. But other than that, I think overall, project's proceeding reasonably well. So thank you.
Very good. Councilmember Lesh, may I begin with you? Questions for either Mr. Rubel, our guest, or city staff pertaining to the update on the rehabilitation of our wastewater treatment plant?
Just one. I know it's getting to the colder part of the year now. Do you anticipate having kind of the same number of workers on site through the winter, or is it going to fluctuate down a little bit? Or
I haven't asked the contractor that, but I can't think of anything that would really lessen the number of employees for the next few months at least. So I bet it'll look pretty similar over there.
it just as a resident right off of Monroe, kind of across the street, we've really not had any problems with traffic or anything. The employees have been doing a great job.
I'm glad to hear that. I'll pass that on to the contractor.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lesh. Mr. Seal? Mr. Seal, you were actually one of the 4 of us on council who was involved in this initiative when it first began nearly 10 years ago. Are there questions that you have for staff or Mr. Rubel?
Just a couple of small questions, if you don't mind. First of all, that wet water storage tank, or the wet weather storage tank, that's a steel tank on the walls?
The above ground portion is steel. There's 6 feet or so below ground that is concrete.
Okay, and then the roof on that is plastic panels?
It's aluminum.
Oh, okay. All right. It won't reflect like a giant mirror, will it?
I've had that question before. This is the 3rd or 4th one that I've been involved with. It actually oxidizes, and it just has a light gray tinge to it.
Very good. Now, the aeration building and the aeration process, that's going to force oxygen down through the liquid into those open tanks at the rear, and then I assume all that air is just going to bubble up.
It does.
Will that be odoriferous?
It does have an odor. I have not found it to be an offensive odor. I'm certain I've answered this question identically in the past. It has a very earthy, musty smell to it.
Like the spring rain?
Not a foul wastewater smell, sulfur smell. That's not the case.
Okay. And then the wet weather storage tank, that's just going to, how does that work? I mean, when does that kick into play, and where does it fit into the process?
Yeah, it will go through all the flow will go through the headworks, and it will be screened and pumped, and it will be sent up the hill, and we can limit what rate of water goes to the regular treatment, and the excess we can send by valving over to the wet weather storage tank. So we know how much we can push through the clarifiers without sacrificing their performance. And anything above that will get sent to the wet weather storage tank.
Okay, so that's still untreated sewage.
It is untreated. We ideally would want to get it back into storage within a day or two. And I will say that wet weather storage tank does have an odor control system.
Okay, very good. That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seal. Mayor Pro Tem Dillon, questions for Mr. Rubel or city staff?
Thank you. The project was pretty much the primary focus of the asset management meeting the other day. And so I'm going to hit a couple of quick questions, but I think Mr. Gearbaugh might have some other questions for you about it. So one of the things about the headworks that was a big issue that came up is that the generator is still not operational for that. So understanding what that liability is.
Well, your existing headworks has not been decommissioned. So if in any way, until we get that generator started, we can send flow to the existing headworks building and use that and that generator. We should only be a week or two away from getting that generator started.
Okay, fantastic. One of the things with the old headworks building, as I was looking at the picture of the pumps, was that, I mean, I'm sure you recall how rusty that building was. Will this building end up that same way? Or is there, like, is the moisture contained more?
Well, clearly the headworks is always the most corrosive environment at the plant because it has all the waste in it, all the sulfur compounds that are very corrosive. Now this is designed a little differently than the old one. The old one actually had electrical equipment in the basement. So it was much more exposed to those odors, those vapors. This does not have electrical equipment in the basement. All that is up top, which is ventilated, I believe, certainly to today's standards, which is probably quite a bit higher than 1987 standards.
Right.
So I can't tell you that building, nothing in that building will corrode, but we have designed everything to be stainless steel where we can so that it can be resistant to corrosion. And we certainly have designed it to be up to current ventilation codes, which should discourage corrosion.
Fantastic. And then you had mentioned that the Headworks building is not yet hooked up to odor control. Should we expect a lot of odor at this time of the year, like with the cold weather, like just so people understand how temporary it is?
Clearly, there's going to be a few more odors until that's connected. Generally, with colder temperature, the odor is less from the wastewater, and people are outside less. There will be some more odor coming from that building until that is connected, which is going to be very soon. Like maybe the second week of January.
Okay. Kind of going through your presentation, and Mr. Gearbaugh, I'll leave the maintenance building to you to talk about. I think that was something. One of the big questions I had was about noise from the aeration tanks. Are you going to hear the perpetual bubbling noise, the aeration? Like, is that something neighbors would hear?
I don't believe you'll hear the water bubble, no.
Okay.
We spent a good deal of time during design to make sure that those blowers are loud. But as long as the doors to that building are closed, we do not believe the noise will be detectable at the property line.
Okay. And that's even like, how often do you expect the screw press to operate?
It could operate 3 or 4 times a week if the city is choosing to use that method to dispose of.
Okay. So you're saying as long as that building stays closed between the blowers and the screw press, we shouldn't have any excess noise?
There's doors. The entire building can be sealed.
Right.
There are man doors, there are overhead doors. The typical operation of those doors should be closed.
Okay. My only other question was at the very front of your presentation, you talked about, let me just get that to make sure I reference it correctly. It was some instrumentation at the remote pump stations. Didn't we just update all of those?
Not all of them. We only updated 2 or 3. We updated Industrial, Maplewood, and some of Southside we updated, but not all of them. So the pump station we did not update, we added to this contract.
Okay.
So all the pump stations would be, say, identical or very, very similar instrumentation-wise, control-wise, communication-wise, if added.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for the update.
Thank you. Councilmember Gearbaugh?
Thank you, Mayor. Just kind of updating when as Mayor Pro Tem Dillon had mentioned, the things that came up were the issue regarding the maintenance building. I think we've discovered there's a problem that potentially putting in foundations for the new maintenance building may hit the old dump, and that it'd be significantly expensive to do that. So we're looking for a new site. Could you kind of elaborate on that?
Yeah, that photograph I showed, they cleared a couple feet down at the pad of the maintenance building, the original plan for the maintenance building. And in fact, we found a lot of building material, a lot of bituminous, concrete, so forth that we were not aware of. We did consult with a geotechnical engineer about options, should that be found. And one of the opinions was we could maybe locate a building there and have no concerns with it. But it's just very hard to predict how a area of fill will react. So our current plan is we do have an empty space that will be left where the RBCs currently are. RBCs weigh well over 1 million pounds, and they have been in place for 38 years without any settlement. So we feel really good about the soil in that space, and we think it's going to be a relatively minor change to put the building at that space than the space that I showed you on this presentation. But we need to investigate a few more things before we can say that that's good, and that should be done in the next week.
Okay. And then I believe there's going to be additional wells tested to make sure about the PFAS contamination regarding that where the soil is and everything before the tank goes up. Do you know when that'll occur?
I heard the word PFAS. What was the?
Well, additional wells, because I thought they said more test wells or assessment. That was one of the things that came out of the meeting last week that we had.
There may be a requirement to put a well at the end of the project, just for the city to have long-term. I'd have to review that, but I think that may have been a request of Eagle back when they issued the permit to proceed with the project.
Okay, we were under the impression that there were 2 additional wells needed to do before the mayor. Dan Swallow can maybe explain that later on.
I think that's correct.
I'll allow that. And then the other one, we are looking at some other maintenance fixes that were happening. Have those change orders been put in place and are part of the window replacements and other things? We know we're looking at roofs and things like that could potentially come out of contingency, because those are things we should fix now and not defer them.
The contractor either has submitted, some of those I know have been approved, and we've given them instructions to proceed with that, and I think they were getting that on the schedule pretty quickly. Other things are being priced right now.
And I do know the one thing that the Headworks was one of the items that has missed its deadline, and we're assessing what that could be of an impact. Do you feel that that's going to be moving ahead? Because I know one of the concerns that came from one of our advisors on the asset management group was making sure everybody's on the same page with the days and when things started happening. Do you feel that that is
we have a very good record of when things were started. And correct, the contractor, again, I'll give you as specifically as I can. They had a March 31st date to have the Headworks operating. When the PFAS and the soil issue came up, they asked for a late July date to have it operating. That was granted to them by the city manager at that time. They did not get that building operating until October. So it has been documented very, very clearly. Manager has all those records of that miss in schedule. So I think it's very clear.
Okay. It's good to hear from you, because we want to make sure that is one of the things. But our advisor, one of the advisors was clear that's where his concern is and seeing it on other projects. So I appreciate it.
I don't think they're going to come willingly writing a check at the end, but I'm pretty sure the paper trail is there for that.
Good. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Gearbaugh?
Nope.
Easy enough. Councilmember Rice, any questions for our guest or city staff?
No questions for me. This is a great update. Looking forward to this project being over.
Very good. Councilmember Harmount?
I just have one question. So if we don't get the extension from Eagle, then what would that mean? Like, what does that cost? What does that entail?
The consent order does have, and I don't have this memorized, what the consequences are of missing dates, but you have certainly met your commitment to update them on the schedule. So I'm very encouraged that you have put a good foot forward and that they will be very cooperative.
Okay, and so that needs to be submitted when?
It'll be this week. Dan and I were just reviewing it between 5 and 5:15 today, so we're done with it.
Okay, so if it gets rejected or there's some issue with it, what would be the consequences of that?
I don't recall what the the damage was of the consent order. This all goes back to the consent order the city has. And I think there is a damage part of that. And I'm afraid to give you an answer. I mean, we could certainly, Dan and I could certainly look it up and get you that answer. But I'm afraid if I gave it to you tonight, I'd be wrong.
I would just ask the city manager to confirm that number, disseminate it via your weekly communique that goes out on Friday.
There's not a specific fine or anything of that nature, but I mean, that is, something they could look at
Correct.
based on if they rejected the proposed new schedule. But the other advantage right now is that overall, we're only, again, and Eagle has made a praise to this multiple times, really only behind by that initial delay due to the PFAS soil. So I think they'll favorably consider the extension request.
Anything else, Councilmember Harmon?
I don't think.
Very good. Mr. Rubel, anything you'd like to add before we wrap up?
Just thank you for the opportunity to help you through this project. I think all in all, it's going well. Any big project will have little bumps in the road, but I think we're handling them. And I think this is going to be quite a success, and we should celebrate this hopefully this summer when we're done.
We'll definitely celebrate once it's done. Many years to get to this point, and as we've noted publicly in the past, this is the largest, most comprehensive, most costly, most multi-dimensional capital project in the city's history by far. And once this facility is rehabilitated and construction is complete, I have no doubt that it will serve the community very well for decades to come. We appreciate your time this evening. Happy holidays, and we'll be in touch and maybe have you back late winter, early spring for another update.
I'd love to do that.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Before we get to the consent agenda, my apologies. The internet's down in my office, and I left, probably around 4:10 today. Mr. Swallow, are we, before I entertain Mr. Gearbaugh's motion, because he, I think, has either an item to remove or multiple items to remove, was there consensus to remove 25-195 with the understanding that that would go to the policy committee and then come back with a recommendation?
That was a request, and we actually just had a policy committee meeting before this, and there was reviewed the minutes. So yes, we can move that when the water leak adjustment policy to the following meeting. That's not
that and the investment policy. What did you? I'm
water
sorry.
leak adjustment.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to strike that item. That will return at a future meeting once the policy committee has an opportunity to review it. So that's one change. Mr. Gearbaugh, did you have others?
Yeah, I just wanted to remove the annual LDFA report, 25-190.
Okay. Are there any other changes? You want to move then, Mr. Gearbaugh, to approve the?
I'm sorry. Yes, I was going to move other items. I just was waiting to see.
Done with
Do
that.
you have others?
No.
I would like to remove 25-191, the annual EDC report, and 25-194, the first amended LDFA 1 and 2 budgets.
Okay, so that's one item removed, 3 items transitioned to new business. They'll appear at the top of our new business agenda. If there are no additional changes, is there a motion then to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Moved by Gearbaugh, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dillon. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion carries unanimously. We move on to business item 25-190, annual LDFA report. This will be a motion to approve the annual LDFA report as submitted.
I'll move to acknowledge receipt.
Moved by Gearbaugh, simply to acknowledge receipt. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dillon. That was your item, Mr. Gearbaugh?
Yeah,
Go
and I'll let Mr. Swallow review it a little bit more. It was discovered during the last Alphabet Board meeting that the certification of the LDFA board had expired in 12/31/2024. That is a significant impact, and I'll let Mr. Swallow briefly discuss on it. One of the reasons why I kind of pulled this report off is, as we think about it, if it had expired in 2024, and considering the time period for which this report may be for, we may have a consideration of why are we doing this report when we were not in compliance. So I'm going to let him talk about it.
Mr. Swallow?
Yes, thank you, Councilor Gearbaugh. The fact of the matter is that the LDFA is still an entity and continues. The 2 items that expired, though, were the tax increment financing plan and the development plan that's associated with that. And so what that plan does is, again, allow the city to capture other taxing jurisdictions' taxable values in part of the district. And so that would be the only change, is that we would be no longer able to capture the other taxing jurisdictions' taxable values. So with that, then those would go back to those taxing jurisdictions, namely the county, the library, as well as the Wayne County Community College. So basically, that would just reduce the revenue for the LDFA and not allow them to capture those other taxing jurisdictions. So that is a concern as we go forward, as you know, we potentially reduced revenue for that entity. So there are a couple things we are going through right now. Is number one, certainly going back through all the city records to make sure this is accurate. It does appear in couple of the previous annual reports that those plans did expire December 31st of 2024. So we believe that is accurate. We're consulting with legal counsel as to if we renew the plans at this point in time, what impact would that have, as well as just going back and working with the board members to understand, you know, back in 24, why was that not caught at that point in time. So with that, there is potential even to request the state for legislative fix. And so that's something we may want to consider as well, to go back but basically, end of the day, what it would do is reduce revenue for the local development finance authority.
Mr. Gerbaugh, anything else?
We know that's going to be a concern because a significant part of the revenue that comes into it, it is a significant part. I'm not sure exactly the dollar amount is, but total capture is approximately $800,000, I believe. Approximately $700,000 for both LDFA overall in tax revenue?
Yeah, I'd looked at both LDFA 1, LDFA 2. So LDFA, let me make sure I get this right. LDFA 2 would be about $47,000, and then LDFA 1 would be about $143,000. So in revenue, and that's revenue coming from the other taxing jurisdictions. So in total, potentially $200,000 that would no longer be captured.
And so in that situation, some of those funds, we have planned on using those for road repairs and things that occur in those LDFAs. As a result, would have to come funding from general fund, which that's a concern at this point in time. I'm hoping that we can get something different on there, but I do know of another community, because I'm on the economic development and land trust group with MML. A similar city had done a similar type of thing, and unfortunately, they had to go through the whole act of getting a bill passed by both the Senate and the House, and getting it approved and signed by the governor in order to reactivate their TIFA district. And it's not an easy task. So hopefully, if at all costs, we can get something, but it looks like we're not going to be able to recapture this. So this is a major concern. And one of the things I want to identify is that we had a number of safeguards in place that did not capture this. And so this needs to be a process which has to be evaluated, from looking at our auditors to our treasurer to our city manager to our other board and city clerk positions. So when we expect that things like this wouldn't happen, it's clear we need to evaluate how we do our processes going forward.
Mr. Swallow, from the conversations that you and I've had, and you made inference to this just moments ago, so am I correct in assuming that a formal report or recommendation on how to resolve this matter would likely occur at one of our regular meetings in January?
Yes, if you'd like a formal report, we can deliver that with the the opinions we've gotten from attorney, as well as kind of the implications, detailing out the numbers I just described.
I think a formal opinion report from staff and the attorney, understanding the impact if this is not rectified or resolved, and what would be the steps to mitigate adverse impact in the future. And I'll leave it to your judgment whether we can get that on the first meeting in January or the second. Our meetings, of course, are back-to-back because of the holiday. So if it can't make it on the 5th, then certainly by the 12th.
The information, already, it's just a matter of compiling into a report and,
Very good.
making sure that we've talked to everybody that would have impacted this.
Just one clarification again, that approving this report meets the need for something else besides the tax capture piece. That's what you just said.
The report is accurate as to what's been captured, and obviously you'll note in the report itself, it notes that December 31st of 24 deadline for renewing the plan. So the report is accurate and can be accepted and sent on to the state.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions? Mr. Gearbaugh offered a motion to acknowledge receipt, seconded by Dylan. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries unanimously. Is there a motion now to approve or not to approve?
Move to approve.
Moved by Gearbaugh to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by CO. Any discussion? There's none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to new business item 25-191, Annual EDC Report. This will be a motion to approve the Annual EDC Report as submitted.
Move to approve.
Moved by Gearbaugh to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by CO. Get you on the next one, Councilmember Rice. I believe it was Mayor Pro Tem Dillon who had a question here.
Thank you. Just for clarification, I had thought that at a previous council meeting, there was a direction to collapse EDC and just sort of understanding what that timeline looked like. And understanding, is this going to continue every year? Because all we're doing is just allocating audit fees to this.
So in response to your question relative to the EDC, it was a motion at the EDC to basically move the funds remaining over to the general fund to zero out that account. I'm still working on determining if I was not aware of council action to actually dissolve the EDC.
I don't think it was to dissolve.
I think the consensus, Mr. Gearbaugh, I think, was the one who made the motion. It was to transfer the funds and essentially it wouldn't be to dissolve EDC, but EDC would become sort of dormant the same way the Economic Development Trust Fund has been dormant for the better part of 2 decades. Is that correct?
Correct. We
Okay.
had talked, council had talked about it. I have to go back and find it, but I guess right now the issue is it needs a direction from us or a motion from us to move the funds from the EDC back to general fund. That's what I was understanding from Terry. Is that correct?
Formal budget amendments would require council approval, and so we can bring that forward either as part of the FY27 budget, or if you want sooner, we can.
I would say just do it sooner. Let's not drag this out any.
Do it as part of the second.
Yep, and then conversely, maybe inquire to John or Tony. Is it appropriate and prudent to consider a motion to transition the Economic Development Corporation into sort of a dormant status? And if so, I'd like to get that on the agenda sometime in the next 30 to 60 days. Okay. Anything else, Mayor Pro Tem Dillon?
No, that was it, just clarification.
Okay. Any additional discussion? There's a motion on the floor moved by Gearbaugh, seconded by CO to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. The motion carries unanimously. And last item to be removed from the consent agenda is 25-194, First Amended LDFA 1 and LDFA 2 budgets. This will be a motion to approve the First Amended LDFA 1 and LDFA 2 budgets as submitted.
Move to acknowledge.
I'll go with Dylan to acknowledge. You want to be the second to that, Rice?
Sure.
Okay. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. This was just sort of following up to item 190 and just understanding whether they went hand in hand. The biggest question that I had on these is that on a lot of these documents, for some reason, and we show a negative net revenue and appropriation. Is that just a new way in which we're doing the accounting? I don't remember us ever having negatives.
Yeah, so the city has traditionally included fund balance marked as a revenue and as an expenditure. And so this does not show that fund balance and as a revenue and an expenditure. It just shows these are the revenues coming in for the fiscal year. These are the expenditures for the fiscal year. So in the case of LDFA 1, LDFA 2, we had basically appropriations totaling $1,474,621. Revenues less than that of $1,991,766,000. With that, there is a utilization of fund balance to cover that difference. So now I know in like the general fund and other areas where they've shown a fund balance beginning and ending to net zero. That's not shown in this case.
Okay. And so are we short $282,000 because of a capture?
$282,855 would come from fund balance. But that's not a shortage in terms of there is the funding there in the fund balance for the LDFA.
Okay. Okay, I'll talk about it offline with the.
Okay, additional comments or questions, Mr. Gearbaugh?
This is kind of a change of how we've seen things presented prior, and I think what we'll do is move this to be reviewed, how this is being presented at our financial policy group. I had the similar question at the LDFA board meeting, and when you look at it, it looks like I know what Mr. Swallow's attempting to try and do, it's just how we look at things differently from before, and so we'll evaluate that from that perspective.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent suggestion. Obviously, the finance subcommittee will be established at our first meeting in January, and I think before you take a look at the first draft of the general operating budget for fiscal year 27, I think having an organizational meeting in the first 90 days of the calendar year to elect and establish officers, and also to consider these and other items would be very advantageous. Okay, we have a motion on the floor, moved by Dillon, seconded by Rice, simply to acknowledge. Is there, if there's no additional questions, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries unanimously. Is there a motion now to approve?
Move to approve.
Moved by Lesh to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Seal. All those, any discussion? There is none. All those in favor of approving say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to new business item 25-198, design engineering for Woodland Drive resurfacing between Ann Arbor and Maple and the culvert replacement. This will be a motion to acknowledge receipt of the memo from Engineer Humphreys and to approve or not to approve the contract for engineering design services with OHM for the 2025 Woodland Drive resurfacing and culvert replacement program in an amount not to exceed $88,700.
Move to acknowledge.
Oh, boy. I heard Gearbaugh first. So that was just to acknowledge receipt, correct? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Dillon. Engineer Humphreys, would you like to begin? And I believe we have at least one representative from OHM with us.
Yes, and I was trying to be fancy and share my screen here. I don't know if because that's up, Ben, I can't, but I mean.
Engineer Humphreys, Mr. Goodman was trying to share a PowerPoint or some information on the screen.
To share my screen, but if that's okay if I can. I was just going to share the map because I had it up on my computer, but. This is for Woodland Drive between Maple and Ann Arbor Street. I was here about the culvert a couple years ago when we did a inspection of our existing corrugated metal culvert that, okay, is it working? Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. So here's the map that's in the council packet. So this is so specifically I'm here tonight for the portion of the project that's shown in pink. This has been on our capital plan now for a few years. What really drove this we were aiming for 26, 27 for this project was one, the state of the culvert when we did the inspection of the condition assessment of this existing corrugated metal culvert that goes underneath Woodland Drive right here. And the road itself is at the point where it's a really good candidate for a mill and fill, so we're resurfacing. Once the road gets too much further, you're looking at actual more under base and more expensive fix, if you will. What's shown in blue here is what we were aiming for in what we did do in 2025. This is an old map. This is a map that was submitted to the Road Commission as part of the Road Commission renewal a few years ago. So this project was completed in 25. This is just, we're aiming for 27. Design of the culvert was authorized by this body a couple years ago. The culvert design, it ended up being quite big. It's a 6 by 16 foot culvert. It's interfering. We need to relocate gas, water, and sewer. It basically became a bigger project during design than when we first initiated. So we were hoping to do one project in summer of 26, one project in summer of 27 because of the impact to the schools here. The project has just gotten bigger than that now with the culvert. There's no way the culvert would be done in a single school season, so now we're just looking to do the whole project starting March, closing, working with the schools for alternate access. One of the things, the schools are aware of this project. I think most people are aware that they have recently improved this with the connection point here, which really helps with detouring throughout this area when we will need to close this road for this project. So this is just the design engineering to keep it on schedule basically the culvert design is done. This is for the road, the relocation of the utilities for the culvert. It will bring the road up to the culvert design and then bidding of said project.
Very good. Our representative from OHM is here. Do you care to make any comments this evening?
Here for questions.
All right, very good. Questions for our guest or for Engineer Humphreys? I'll start with Mr. Gearbaugh.
Just a couple, and looking at this project, the impact you have is saying that we're going to have to move gas lines, sewer lines, water lines, all that. How much of a change are we making to this that's so impactful at this point in time that we're having to affect all of that? Because I would have thought that would have been designed initially while those other lines and things were put in there.
So this is all due to the culvert. So the culvert itself, it's all due to this replacing of corrugated metal pipes with a huge box culvert. So now the bottoms of the pipes are here. That culvert itself has a section of a couple feet, plus the stream people, we had to pull a couple permits through Eagle. There's, believe it or not, there are 6 miles of tributary area upstream of this, Pittsfield Township coming through this. This is a Pittsfield drain, so we had to work with the Washington County Washington County Water Resources Commission. So they require so much additional, I don't know what you call it, creek bedding from the bottom of the culvert for the natural bedding. So long story short, the bottom of the existing culvert, the new box culvert is feet below that, which is what is causing the interference with all the utilities.
Is this design a new requirement? Are we overbuilding, or are we, I'm trying to understand why we're not just replacing it the way we.
Straighten this out. It all has to do with lakes and streams. This is a drain with more than 5 feet of upstream tributary area, so there are certain requirements that, what do you call it, the rivers, lakes, and streams, the part 301s and the 315s, all these permits we had to pull because of it's a river, it's a drain.
So a lot of this is being driven by the county, the state requirements and so forth.
We're trying to straighten this out. I mean, it would have been cheaper for us to do this, to go, I don't know if you can see my mouse or not, but to go straight up and down across Woodland, right? So our culvert could have been shorter or cheaper, but that would have altered the natural state. We tried, and that was not approved. And we had to, but yes, so anyways, that's the why all of that came up in the culvert design.
And then you mentioned that there's no federal money that's available for it at this time. Was there any county money or anything or state related to this, to the fact that it is a drain? And if not, what projects are we actually foregoing the fact that we're going to have to use our own funds versus a federal source at this time?
So you're speaking specifically to the road funds, and yes, so the federal funding, we did apply for the 27 to 29 transportation improvement plan, the TIP that Watts puts together. We put this for 27, as you can see, we have it labeled right here as our 2027 LAP, which that stands for Local Agency Project. The culvert funding, so this is about a $2 million project, $1 million for each, let's say, for the roads for easy discussion points. So the $1 million in funding for the road, we did not receive. We do have fund balance in our major road funds. With our transportation asset management plan, we had hoped to move some of that to local roads. We have used some of that for local roads. We still are planning to do a large 2027 local road project. So we're hoping to get this design ready, and if there's funding available, we're going to go after it for the roads. For the culvert, the Washington County Water Resource Commission has made it very clear that we, the road owner, are responsible for the appurtenances underneath the road, for the drain. So we have pursued potentially getting this listed as a federal bridge and funding through that avenue, but we're slightly unsuccessful. So we have looked at options for that. TIFA funding is one that has always been on the table for this also. So this is in a TIFA district. So all of those things. So this has been in our plan, and we know we haven't gotten funding for over a year now, so we've been planning for that.
Okay, and if, with all the governor and everything else supposedly coming from the state, there aren't additional resources that may be available a year from now, so that postponing this project wouldn't be more beneficial at that time and investing. I'm trying to figure out, where does this sit on our priorities, considering we had other priorities and now we're taking money that would have gone into local roads that's not going to be deferred. And I know we could have a project, but it means less local roads getting done. So just trying to, how soon does this need to be repaired and replaced? If we could get
this has been in our 2027 plan. In fact, I would have liked to have done it in 25. I think we're getting to the point where we're going to miss the right fix at the right time. I think this is urgent, which is why it's still here.
Because we had a similar concern with Ann Arbor Saline Road, or Ann Arbor Street, and I feel like that's been postponed for 4 or 5 years because of the lack of federal funding for it too. So trying to figure out and understanding where our biggest priorities are, and now it seems like we're going to do this, which primarily benefits the schools, without necessarily looking at all of our other projects. So that's just my 2 cents that I'm putting in here at this time.
This has been in the capital improvement plan for 3 years.
At least.
So it's 3 years. So it's been
that we would have federal money for it, though. Yeah.
He's talking about the loss of the TIP. But again, we knew that. We've known that for over a year now. And and Arbor that he's speaking of is, this is a $2 million project. He's talking about an $8 million project. So I don't know that we're comparing apples to apples.
It's still $1 million. It's still the issue of we were counting on federal dollars and now we're not, so it's a
We need the
shift.
federal money
It's a
for
shift
Ann
in
Arbor.
priorities.
Yeah.
Can I, one thing, I'm offering a little bit of assistance here. Can I maybe get a few bullet points sent to me via email, either from the city manager or the engineer? I have a Watts meeting on Wednesday, and I'll probably chat with the director on a few matters, either before or after the meeting. I'd be happy to mention this again to see if he or his staff could assist in helping to identify some additional federal funds. Okay, thank you. Yep. Mayor Pro Tem Dillon, did you have some questions?
Thank you. Obviously, the federal funding was the point that I was going to bring about, and understanding. One of the other things I wanted to ask was that in the memo, it also talked about that when you were inspecting this, it was also, you were inspecting bridges, and understanding where are we with our bridges?
So it is 25. We did bridge inspections in September of this year. We have 3 of them that are required federally on a biannual basis, so the odd years. They're due in September, we do them in September. But we've added to that list, I think 3 are required federally. I think we're at 8 now that we're inspecting on a biannual basis. No new, I guess overall, no new large concerns were brought forward. This was a concern that was brought forward after the inspections in 23, this particular culvert, but there's not, I think they're all still in, no large concerns were brought forward from the biannual inspections this year.
Okay, fantastic. And then I guess, kind of going along with what Mr. Gearboss said, is because we're not having federal funding, do we specifically know which projects are being sort of pushed off to fund this?
I think we're talking about a loss of about $250,000 in federal funding over the scope of a 3-year TIP. I mean, the road money, I think our road, I'm going to speak a little out of turn here, but I think we have about $3 million a year. I guess my point is the amount of money that we lost for this is minimal in the overall road budget. They replaced that instead of giving us $500,000 a year. So for the I'm sorry, I'm speaking all over the place right now, but for the 23 to 25 TIP, we got about $1 million in federal funding. They spread it $500,000 over 2 projects. For the 27 to 29 TIP, we got about $800,000 worth of federal money, but they put it all on Ann Arbor. So that's why I say we really only lost about $200,000 in federal fund. It's not enough to really, that's not that much money in the scope of the annual road program.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any additional questions? Okay, we have a motion on the floor moved by Gearboss, seconded by Dillon, simply to acknowledge receipt. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries unanimously. Is there a motion to approve or not to approve?
Move to approve.
Oh, I'm going to take CO as the mover and Rice as the second. To approve. Is there any additional discussion on the motion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to new business item 25-199, Saline River Valley Trail Phase 1 Construction Engineering Service. This will be a motion to acknowledge receipt of the memo from Engineer Humphreys and to approve or not to approve the contract for construction engineering services to OHM for Phase 1 of the Saline River Valley Trail in an amount not to exceed $177,000.
Move to acknowledge.
Moved by Dillon, simply to acknowledge. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Rice. Engineer Humphreys.
Okay, I've got now up a picture.
Another visual.
Which I don't have turned the right way, but this is just a general visual of the proposed pathway north is facing this way. This is what was bid out. This project has been in the capital plan and wish list, I think, well before I started here. I know I saw it in the 2017 transportation or non-motorized transportation plan. This is something that has been pieced together with grant funding. We got a large, substantial grant from SEMCOG a couple of years ago, which really moved this project forward. The other slide that I have up is just something that was shown to the Parks Commission a few years ago, or a year or so ago. This is an actual picture of Mill Pond Park. This is a little bit of the impoundment here. This is just south of the dog park area looking to the north. This is a area that is where we actually have wetlands in the grass area. You can see where it is wet throughout here, where the snow is, where they're still like frozen. This is where when you walk in the spring, your feet get wet. This is one of the design concerns we had with this path is how do we actually build a path through what has really been fill area. I mean, we all know that this area was filled in the late 70s. I've gone over that with some of the old aerials from the dam presentations and such. So one of the other concerns we had with design was just maintenance of it. So these two are over here are supposed to be kind of the idea of the path is going to go along the ridge line. Now, of course, our ridge line goes up, our woods go up, right? They go up from the low area here. And then between the path and the woods, we're going to have these natural plantings. So that's a big component of this project is natural plantings between this path that you see here and the ridgeline. You can see in some instances, I mean, we do vary from the proposed ridgeline for whatever reason. Like in this case, the state required us because of the wetland crossing. We had to minimize the wetland crossing here. So there will be areas where that, but the idea is that DPW maintains this side of the path and this side is natural. This went through bids through MDOT. That's our non-motorized plan that's here. These were the bids that were received from MDOT. MDOT, this is an MDOT contract. So the All-Star Power Excavating will is who is moving forward with bid award. They might have already been awarded the contract. And we're looking for, getting construction engineering awarded so we can hit the ground running when they're ready to go. They're talking about starting construction this spring when it dries up. The contract documents require 60 days from start that they're finished with the path. This path is, it's like a road. We're doing quite a hefty cross section because we're putting geogrid down. We're putting, I think it's 8 inches of base on 3.5 inches of asphalt. I mean, that's our local road cross section. So they have 60 days to get that done. We are planning to close the gravel part of the park for some staging, but they do have longer in the season for watering and establishment of all of the plantings. That actually has, I think, a whole year or two of watering in the contract also. So, sorry, I got a little worried, but that's my background on the project.
No, that's good.
I'll open it up to
That's good.
questions.
I don't mean to put Councilmember Rice on the spot, but I know this matter has been discussed at the Parks Commission. Is there anything that you or Director Lambert would like to share?
Nothing for me other than we're very excited to get this show on the road, because what will happen once we have this pathway built is we'll be able to start implementing some of the changes that we want to implement to the park as a whole. So we've been working on bringing forth some recommendations to council on some other upgrades to the park that will, sort of fall in line. So getting this project going is sort of phase one of a full River Valley Trail. It's also phase one of just a revamp and a refresh of Mill Pond Park itself. So excited that we're at this step.
Very good. Questions for Engineer Humphreys? Mr. Seal?
So because of this road base you talked about, I assume that's going to elevate that somewhat. Will they bring up the surrounding embankments so that there's not a drop off the edge of this pathway?
Yes, so the plans do have, and I believe our cut fill is actually pretty, I don't know if you know off the top of your head, Marcus, but it's, I actually think we have a fairly level site, but we are planning, so the intent would be to excavate down mostly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's mostly excavate down. Because, and then you're right, the actual fall across this site is, I think, 2 feet from the north to south. I mean, it's very, very minimal fall. I didn't bring the plans with me tonight, actually. I brought them the other day, and I didn't bring them back with me tonight, but.
So they'll be able to successfully make it through what now becomes a wet marshy area in the spring?
Yes. Yeah, and I'm sorry, you're right. It will be, it's going to be dug out, but the top of the path will be higher then, so it's going to drain down to the existing pathway, or the existing elevation.
But I mean, they'll be even at the edge, so people either riding a bicycle or walking close to the edge won't have a
Yes, you're right.
calamitous fall.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, that is the intent.
very good.
Additional questions, Mr. Gearbaugh, and then I'll jump to Councilmember Harmon.
Just a clarification on the engineering. I see that it says Spicer did the plans. How are we selecting our engineers? Because, I mean, lately it's been Wade and Trim, Spicer, OHM. Are we still going out and doing bidding, or are we just using it based on our professional services and selecting them? I'm just curious, because when I read that, it said, it clearly states Spicer plan, so I'm worried that they're like putting fingers at Spicer versus themselves, so.
Yes, you're right. Spicer is the design engineer on this. As far as the engineering team, I'm moving forward in accordance with my January 2023 risk mitigation memo. At that time, we had 8 engineers working for us, and I was trying to get it down. It created a bottleneck in my position. So OHM construction is time consuming. And so when I was at the city of Ann Arbor, I had 2 jobs like this. That was my whole job. I just talked about 2 jobs that are a teeny part of my job here. So, and construction is time consuming. And so OHM has proven time and again that they can successfully get a construction job done and respond very timely manner to our residents' concerns and complaints. They first established that with Eastveld. That was supposed to be a 2-year project that we shut down Maple Road, put in sewer that was 30 feet deep. That was originally going to be a 2-year project we had to meet. We got that down to 1 season. I thank OHM and their construction team for that. They have an office very nearby. I would say that they're an extension of our staff. I don't even become the middleman with most of our residents now because I just get in the way. I don't know. I cannot possibly keep up with the day-to-day on a construction project of this magnitude when I'm managing new development, managing capital improvement planning, all the other things that I'm doing. So that's how OHM was chosen for this. They have successfully done other, and this is, I view, a high-profile job that requires, I don't know if you recall Clark Street, but that was the local agency project that we did not, we need strong engineering support on local agency projects.
Well, I agree with that. I just was curious when they clearly identify Spicer. I just want to make sure that
this was my choice.
when there's when there gets to be a disconnect between the plans and that, how does that get reconciled? And do you go back to Spicer and they evaluate the plans, or does OHM change the plans? Just that kind of thing. So it's just that we have been through a number of them, and I know that just even recently, weight trim was a problem that we had a situation with. I'm just trying to understand because we're putting significant money into 1 or 2 engineering firms, and just like we were worried about Tetra Tech and some other past firms, just reevaluating these type of things is good due diligence and determining what we're doing at this time. So that's why I did the question.
Go ahead, Mr. Swallow.
And one more thing, the other advantage to OHM is they are in town doing a lot of our new development inspection. And so, OHM, yeah. So, but the other advantage is having them here in town is that they will be able to obviously be more efficient in getting from site to site.
Thank you.
Councilmember Harmont, you had a question?
Yeah, I have 2 questions. So other than cost, what were the other criteria evaluated? What were the things that were evaluated for when you picked this particular contractor?
So you're asking about the engineering RFP from 2020, or my 2023 risk mitigation, or why OHM?
All-Star Power Excavation LLC.
That was so this was bid out through MDOT. We didn't get it. See, so this is the MDOT bids. MDOT's low bid. They were low bid. So I have the bids up on the screen now. So All-Star Power Excavation was a low bid through MDOT. This was a federal, so the money was federally required federal bidding through MDOT's agency.
Okay, so were there any other scenarios that maybe we wanted to look at? Like, we've come across PFAS, right? For instance, at the wastewater treatment plant. And let's just say along this project, we discovered that there was some additional like hazmat excavation. Did we get dollar per pound estimates for all these suppliers to understand if there was any other factors that came into play, if that would impact the decision of the supplier, the contractor that we picked?
So this, because it was federal funding, we did have to go through both NEPA and SHPO approval and reviews. So that has gone through extensive environmental and archaeological. In fact, we had to go out here and dig test pits to look for Indian or old burial items here. So, and go through all of the tribal records. We do have undercut in the bid price. That's actually one of the reasons why this was over 1.1 million, because we purposely increased the undercut price to give ourselves a little buffer. So in that sense, I think we are covered for that.
So there's no other considerations or unexpected things that we come across that would then make this particular outfit that we're picking not the best choice to pick?
Well, that's always the concern with low bid, and we are using MDOT's, which is a large road project, money to build a mini little itty bitty road in a park. So I wouldn't say this is typical, but this is how we get our $1 million in federal funding. So.
Anything further, Councilmember Harmont?
No.
Okay, additional questions, Mayor Pro Tem Dillon?
Thank you. Thank you very much for this. My question was October 2nd, 2026 it's a very specific date. Is there something that's tied to that? It's not the 1st, it's not the 31st, it's a weird day.
I don't have an answer for that.
I wasn't sure whether there was something that we had to meet a deadline for or something like that. And then talking about finance, when I this is a $177,000 expense. That budget line has $975,000 in it. What are we doing with the other $800,000?
So I estimate that the total project cost, the expenses to the city, which was outlined in my memo, are like about $25,000. So all of that will be coming out of that 975, and I do believe, so that's both of those items are coming out. And I'd have to, I guess, talk with finance more about the ins and outs of any more additional, because I feel like there was a grant associated with some of that. I'm not exactly sure, but yes, you're right. Right now, the expense item shows 975, and I only estimate that we're going to need 325. That's
okay. That's very cool. And then my only other question was, on the bid, it actually says they're removing a tree, there's a culvert removal and replacement, storm sewer and landscaping on Bennett Street. Where's the culvert that they're taking out and replacing?
both of those are in the park. So I think one is right.
By the bridge to nowhere.
Yeah, close to where the trails connect.
Yeah, I want to actually, I'll be able to see it better in my.
That's okay. I was trying to figure out because it sounded like it was more on Bennett Street, and I guess I was trying to figure out if it was outside of the
I
park.
think that's just because it's the address of the
It's
park.
the address with all of our permitting is whatever it is for whatever Bennett Street, 400 some Bennett Street. And I found it confusing. I got the permit for Bennett Street. I was like, what is this for?
Okay. No, that's all I wanted the clarification for. Thank you very much.
Any additional questions? Then we'll proceed to vote. We have a motion on the floor moved by Dillon, seconded by Rice, simply to acknowledge receipt. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries unanimously. Is there a motion now to approve or not to approve?
Move to approve.
Moved by Dillon to approve, seconded again by Rice. Is there any additional discussion? Appears to be none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries unanimously. We move on to new business item 25-122, Rec Center Task Force recommendations. This is an item that was first presented or shared with council probably about a month back. This will be a motion to simply acknowledge receipt of the Recreation Task Force recommendations, which is as follows, and authorize the mayor, city manager, and their designees to begin formal discussions with potential partners regarding a regional or district-wide property tax millage funding campaign or other initiatives that would allocate dedicated financial support to the Saline Recreation Center. Further, direct city manager and the Recreation Center staff to begin implementing short-term cost-saving strategies and program expansion measures identified by the Rec Center Task Force, and provide City Council with a comprehensive update at or before its June 1st, 2026 regular meeting.
Move to acknowledge and approve.
It's actually just, you can do acknowledge, but it's just accept.
To accept? Okay, move to accept, sorry.
Is there a second? Seconded by Lesh. Again, Director Lambert, Manager Swallow, this item was presented quite some time ago, so I hope that most of my colleagues have had an opportunity to address their questions, concerns to staff in advance of tonight's meeting. Is there anything else you'd like to add at this time? I'll start with you, Director Lambert.
So, the Rec Task Force, the 2025 Rec Task Force, presented their recommendations at I believe it was the October 20th meeting to this body. And in a quick summary, they had 4 different areas. One was to look at short-term initiatives to help stabilize operations. Secondly, to pursue regional partnerships, which leads into the third item, which is to develop ballot language for a potential recreation millage. And then the community engagement. So to engage community and work together to to stabilize the recreation center for years to come. So,
Mr. Swallow, anything you'd like to add?
Again, I came in on the tail end of the Recreation Task Force, but I think the key objectives are, well founded by the task force members, and obviously there are some timelines associated with that, and so that's why in part the June 1st deadline to come back to council and give you an update as to where we stand. As you recall from the presentation, there was about a 6-month time frame to identify a partner or a regional partner for funding aspects, as well as some of those shorter term things that would happen between between now and that 6-month timeframe. So that's our target. The other item that we're working on is bringing back some of the task force members to serve as kind of an implementation committee to help us reach out to some of those community partners and really, really provide that more community-wide input as to where we go from here. So I think the pressure is now on, so to speak, to that 6-month timeframe to look at potential funding options.
And I want to note too, for the record, and in full disclosure, it was Councilmember Harmont who assisted with the prepping and review of this agenda last week, along with the city manager. The June 1st, 2026 is the deadline for a comprehensive report that in no way mitigates more frequent reports when appropriate to get consensus from council, or to, at a minimum, inform council of the community as to progress on specific initiatives. And I would note, in addition to what was shared in October, the deputy city manager had brought to my attention another potential opportunity, which I can't comment on at length this evening, but it is being evaluated, and we may have something tangible to share with you in the next 30 to 60 days. I do want to acknowledge again the work of all of the task force members, those who served on the subcommittee, and of course the deputy city manager, then acting city manager, El Cole, who led this initiative for several months. Before we open up for discussion, are there any final questions at this juncture? Anybody have any additional questions? Councilmember Harmont?
Yeah, so I was part of the agenda setting meeting, and I wanted to, there were a couple items I had requested that would be added that were not, and I just wanted to reiterate those. So if we're talking about a timeline on the rec task force recommendation and timelines, I'd like to designate a starting point to that. So is it today? Was it last month's meeting? You know, when does it start? And an estimated amount of money that each one of these items would bring in on an annual basis, so we understand what the gap is of what we would need to have raised funds for. Another item that we need to define is how much does City Council want to contribute from the general funds moving forward. I don't know that we have solidified that. So what, you know, and then the third item is if starting today, so if today's the start point, then we need to have a confirmed partner that we will be moving forward with to ask for the millage, or whatever the millage proposal is, would be then June. Is that my understanding?
I think that's basically correct.
That was part of the intent of the more comprehensive update in June, is to identify that, or, you know, provide options to council, yes.
Okay, so some of these items for the, so we have, again, it's kind of a tiered, right? We have some operational improvements that are gonna help make that gap, but a lot of these operational improvements are, you know, 12 months out. So then, you know, is there a step down, you know, between, are we going to be bridging with some of our general funds? Is there going to be some sort of step towards what we're, you know, here's what we're contributing and here's what our target is to contribute, and then, you know, how are we going to get there?
The short answer is yes. I mean, that's the first 6 months were identified as some of those short-term things. Yes, a few of those that Director Lambert has developed do proceed beyond that because they are longer implementation period. But yes, I think particularly at the June 1st meeting, we'll come back with, okay, this is what we would need to continue with general fund contribution, and then, you know, with the funding, other funding sources we've identified, this is how that would be brought down. And you'll have a range for each of those, yes.
Okay. And then if we are to move forward with a millage proposal, or if that's what is needed, which is what's identified as needed, then that would be, what's the count? What if we are not able to gain that? Then what's the next steps on that? Has that been defined?
As we discussed at the October 20th meeting, you know, what would it look like for a regional millage, which is obviously the preferred? What could it look like for a local Saline-only millage, which is obviously more significant and probably difficult for the community to support? And then finally, if neither of those are achieved, is to your point, if the general fund is not able to support it, then we'd have to look at some sort of closure plan. And that's been, actually, we've talked a little bit about that already as to what that would look like, and getting some planning in place for that as well.
Okay, so we probably need to have an understanding when we stop to agree to, you know, whatever we agree to for general funds, and then when we're not you know, we're not agreeing to moving any amount higher than that. Like, I'm concerned we're going to wait and then we won't have a plan, or we don't have an agreement, and then what are we going to do?
Obviously, annual budgeting is another opportunity to discuss that. We're rolling into that right now for the next fiscal year, FY27. So I think that's a perfect opportunity to have the discussion of how much general fund do we want to support for the coming fiscal year. And obviously, we have an opportunity throughout the year to review that as well.
Thank you.
Additional questions, and then we'll get to discussion. Mayor Pro Tem Dillon?
Thank you. Trying to understand, and for some reason I apologize, apparently I have a totally different agenda because my motion does not match what you had said. There's no dates or anything in it.
Strange, sorry about that.
And so I think following up on what Councilmember Harmount just said, it's that I think that it's important for us right now to establish some timelines specifically related to millage and understand what is the time frame for an August ballot and what is the time frame for November, and work backwards from those so that we are working in parallel. While we are looking for community partners, we are also tracking what a millage would be. I do not see that the city of Saline is going to be able to support the rec center for 2 years if we don't find a partner, and we have to wait on a millage. So part of that is what I'd like to see and understand is that...
Let's answer that question right now. The clerk royal may have the information. To get something on the August ballot, is the deadline roughly, is it about 60 days in advance? Yeah, 60 days. So it would be early to June to get something on the August ballot. To get something on the November ballot, it's essentially August, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay.
So then waiting for a comprehensive report in June would not really, we're going to miss a target of August. So I guess what I'm asking is then rolling things back a bit and understanding, working from a definitive timeline. And I did agree with what Ms. Harmount said, which was understanding when we talk about 6 to 12 months, what exactly is that? I feel like we need to attach dates to it so that we're all on the same page of what that would mean, and trying to understand that aspect of it. The other thing that was not mentioned that I'd like to sort of understand is that there was talk of increasing programming and such like that. I'd like to understand the costs associated with that before we start pursuing other, avenues of programming. And the other last one that I had that I want to be very clear about is understanding on the rec task force recommendation, there was inclusivity and women-focused programming. And we discussed women-only fitness and design for inclusivity. I just want to understand what that means, because I feel like that's going to be opening a door that we opened before and we weren't really prepared for what was on the other side of.
Yeah, so those are recommendations from the task force's items for us to explore. One of our rec task force members, Tony Kayumi, had been long associated with the YMCA, and they had had some success in having spaces within facilities that were just felt more safe and secure for women to be able to work out, do stretching, or what have you. So, programming that would be maybe more specific for those, that type of group. So that was a recommendation, and some of this, we're looking just to explore: is this right for us? And I agree with you. Is this something that would align well with the offerings that we have?
Okay.
Yeah, and is there interest? So part of that, Mr. Small and I have spoken about doing some surveying to get some feedback from our customers and our base to see what is it really that they're looking for, where are the gaps in our programming.
Just to kind of comment on your previous question as well, is that Director Lambert does do an analysis of each new program to show what the expected revenue is, what the expected costs are, and we obviously would look for net positive in that case and not bring on something that would be a negative revenue situation or negative net financial situation.
Because I think we had something like that done recently. There was an evaluation of programming, and we sort of set a threshold, or I think there was something that was discussed of it had to make a certain amount of revenue, a percentage of revenue, in order to be worth, pursuing. And just understanding, the other piece of it right now is, do you have the staffing to be able to do those things?
Yes, so we're, obviously in the midst of the budget season, and part of our management staff at the rec center, if they're all their programs and responsibilities that they oversee, they work on areas of their budget, and then we meet to go over those. And so we do break each program down. We look at what those direct costs are, the revenues, the expenditures. And as Mr. Swall said, they do need to be net positive in a strong sort of manner to go ahead and, offer. We're trying to, seek, I know the schools through their community education department, they rely heavily on contracts, so the contracted programs, are less administration because you're not hiring staff, right? You're setting up a contract and they're coming in. So we have a couple of programs right now that are contracted, so it's easy. We're taking registrations, but the person or company that we're contracting with, they're really responsible for the day-to-day operations of those, and so we do percentage split.
Okay, thank you. Then my last question is for Mr. Swallow, which is when in the motion that I have, it says to begin formal discussions. There's been ongoing discussions for years with Pittsfield, the schools, the county, and I guess I'm just trying to understand what exactly are we, you can keep asking, but if the answer keeps being no, at what point do we say we're accepting no as the answer? Because we've kind of gone through this process already, and I just feel like we're prolonging decision-making here and trying to figure out, I know that we need a source, we want a partner, but if these partners keep saying that they're not really interested in partnering with us at this time, I don't know when the right time is going to be, if that ever is going to come. So I'm very reluctant to just keep pushing this process along. I feel like we keep doing the same thing. And, when we say formal discussions, well, what have you been having, to date? What are those discussions?
You want to go ahead?
I think that we've gotten more clear direction from council at this point. I know I have, as to what the financial situation is and what they're expecting in terms of return and what the general fund might support. So I think it has come to a more critical point in my mind, and that is something that we're relaying to some of those community partners too, is that we need to make some decisions here, and that time is running shorter as we speak. So I guess that would be my answer. And we have always continuing to talk to our partners about opportunities. That never ends. You're always looking for potential funding sources from some of our community partners or collaboration. So that will never end, regardless.
No, like I said, we can keep asking and keep having those conversations, but at some point, we need to make some realistic decisions. That if they're not engaging with us at this point, then what is, and that's why I feel as though that millage has got to go in parallel to all of these other conversations. And there also needs to be the third leg of the stool, which is, what happens if we don't get a partner? What happens if we don't get a millage? What does that look like? And start realizing what that plan would be, because we can't wait until the end to make any decisions. I think we just really have to understand what our options are in full and what the cost and the time is going to be for them.
Yeah, I would also add, I feel like all of our partners are engaging, and I haven't received a definitive no from any of the meetings that I've sat in on. Obviously, we haven't gotten firm commitments thus far. But we began engaging and having conversations with our regional stakeholders probably within the last 30 to 60 days. I think they've gone well. Obviously, nothing tangible has been produced yet, but conversely, we haven't had the door slammed in our face, and I think people are interested in continuing the dialogue. And as the city manager indicated, we made it very clear that we're going to need some firm commitments and some definitive statements or positions provided to us in the very near future. Mr. Yerba, you have some questions?
What's the actual, I mean, this may be the thing, what is the actual outcome? For me to support this, I expect on June 6th or June 1st, if that's the deadline that's mentioned. It is on the electronic version, it was just not on our paper copy. If that's our deadline, is the anticipation of that is that we can take that information to either immediately move for a millage by the city for 2.5 mills or whatever it would take if we were to support, or to basically say, well, our partners in the townships and the school do not want to move forward with a millage, so we need to make a decision of how we're going to move forward. We keep pushing this down the road, and as you stated that you did when we've had discussions, that council needs to get off the pot. And for me, that's one of it. And one of my things is that, are we going to do any kind of community engagement prior to just talking with partners? We haven't reached out to the public to ask them, do you want to support this? And putting a lot of resources and everything into something and then run it through another election or a millage cycle, which could cost us tens of thousands of dollars to do it. I'm trying to see, we keep not asking the question, does this community want to support it? The easiest way to do it is to put a millage on the ballot and immediately go for it. And I don't want to see us say, okay, we could do that in August for us, but we're going to have to wait another year to do it for the townships because we haven't got them all on board, or the school district. This July 1st or this June 1 deadline needs to have an answer. Is that what you feel you're going to produce for us?
I think that obviously from staff's role is to provide you what has been done to date, what partners we've spoken with, what their response is, and here's, based on those responses, here's option 1, here's option 2, and option 3, and ultimately it'll be city council's decision to, pursue that option. And hopefully, it's with a more regional supported proposal, which is what the task force had put forward as their objective and goal.
If I may, Mr. Gerber, I think to your point, though, absolutely. I would say in the next 6 months between a new advisory committee, staff, or council, we should absolutely try to engage and poll the people that we represent within the corporate limits of the city of Saline to ask the question, do you find value in the service? Do you think it should be expanded? Do you think it should be preserved? Or is this something you think that is no longer of value to the community? I think that is absolutely critical, and I would definitely expect that to be done in the 6 months and to be reported out on or before June the 1st.
Perfect. And that's because that's similar what we need to have, is that's the part of it. For me, then, the other thing is, I'm just looking at it. Again, $700,000 support this last year because of when we looked at the audit statements. We've committed to money for this fiscal year, but that ends the end of June 30th of this year. Moving forward, we're at a point where I'm just making my statement. This has to be resolved, and the only way it's going to be resolved is to get the voters to make a decision. Do they want to support it? And if that comes back, because I can't see us taking more money out of our operating funds at this current motion, because we have other things to do. And just tonight, we were told we have no federal money to do our roads. We lost money from the LDFA. The things are coming to bite us, and at this point, this is the biggest dog that needs to be resolved. So that's it for me.
Councilmember Rice?
There's nothing.
We're moving into discussion here now, which is just fine, because people have obviously had ample opportunity to raise questions or raise concerns and ask questions during the past month and a half. So go ahead with any thoughts you may have.
There's nothing I disagree with that has been set up here. What I do disagree with, however, is the sentiment that this isn't worth the due diligence and the extra effort to fight for. No one has said that, but the sentiment has been put out there. When we talk about a city and a community as a whole, sure, it includes roads, sure, it includes wastewater treatment plants, sure, it includes parks. These are all things that we're talking about, but it also includes community wellness. We are not alone in our need for upgrades to our recreation facility. These facilities were all built in the 90s. Everybody's in the same boat right now. We're taking in clients from other facilities that are doing major renovations and major upgrades. Those other facilities have access to a lot more money and a lot more tax base than we do. They're fortunate in that way. But that doesn't mean that this isn't worth taking the time to figure out how we can afford to keep this. I am hesitant to put this onto the shoulders of the tax base in the city of Saline. I am praying and pressing for a more regional look, and I think that that's where taking the time to talk with new leadership. We have new leadership in the schools, we have new leaderships in Pittsfield, we have new leaderships at Washtenaw County Parks. Taking the time to formally sit down and say, here's where we are in the city of Saline, here's how we would like to partner with you. Those conversations from the 4 years that I've been on council have never happened. The kind of backdoor and here's what we would like to do in the city of Saline conversations have happened, but the next 6 months are crucial in giving everybody the time and leeway to follow through on this so that we have some definitive answers in June. We know what we're looking at. If we need to support the rec center for another year, we know that we need to support the rec center for another year. If we need to support the rec center for another year, I am going to push for supporting the rec center for another year because this is a community asset. This is health and wellness of the community. It brings people into our community. If we have an upstanding aquatic center and all the programming that goes into it, the moment that I talk about the potential of having to close the Saline Rec Center, my neighbors say, what am I going to do with my kids in the summer? My other neighbors say, oh, it's perfect for the rehabilitation that I have to do for my knee. You know, we're talking about one of the most prized assets in a community, which is health and wellness and recreation. So I think we need, when we have these conversations, to look at it pragmatic and say, we got to get some definitive answers, and this is what this timeline is doing. This is the timeline that they have set out. Gives us a push to get to June, get these realistic answers. But between now and June, if we continue to talk negatively about the drain that the rec center is putting on the city of Saline, we're not going to get the community to say yes. We're not going to get them to vote yes for this. So over the next 6 months, I encourage my council colleagues to look at this as a community asset in a positive way, solve some problems, let's figure it out, let's talk positively about this recreation center, let's not throw in the towel, and let's not discourage our community from wanting to support something that's super valuable.
Thank you. I want to hear from everybody before we vote, and I think it's a good discussion, and everybody's being very clear and emphatic on their position. Gentlemen, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if you'd like to share any remarks, you're welcome to. If not, we can move on and see if there's some additional comments from my colleagues at the dais.
Well, I think I stated at a previous meeting that it's always occurred to me that the only way to successfully support the center is through a millage and a vote of the people who use it, whether it be just the Saline School District, the adjacent communities, however it wants to be structured. And I think that the next 6 months, it's time to develop a plan to put that kind of a concept forward to the public so that they can vote on it in the fall with a reasonable idea of what it is they're voting for. So it's going to take a good bit of work to establish this plan, to write everything down, to make a presentation. And I know we did that with the radio system. We met with good luck because what we did was we designed a plan. We showed where the budget was going to fall, if they approved that particular millage, and what exactly we were going to do with all the pieces of that budget over time. So I think it's incumbent on whoever it is that's carrying this forward to do that very same kind of a thing in preparation for a vote of the public.
Very good. Anything else? Anything you'd like to add, Councilmember Lesh?
I mean, I concur that I do view the rec center as a community asset, and I also do acknowledge the fact that in the next year or so, there will be other things that will probably come up on millage for the city. So I think 6 months is probably the reasonable timeline to figure out if this is something that the community really wants.
Anything else before we vote? Councilmember Harmon?
When will we know that we have a solidified partner? Like, what will define that?
Obviously, it depends on those partners as to what commitment level they're willing to provide. And so I think obviously it will have to be something more substantial than just a verbal, yes, we're interested. I think it would have to be more of a resolution or some order by their governing body or something of that nature, more formal action.
So I think what I'm hearing, or what I'm hoping that I'm hearing, is that we would have June 1st or whatever that timeline is that there is a confirmed partner, right, with a solidified agreement of some sort, as opposed to just we might be partnering.
Yes.
So, right, is that my understanding is correct?
That'd be my understanding, yes.
Okay.
Let me just add before we vote. It was a good discussion. I appreciate everyone being so direct with their sentiments. I mean, I concur with much of what has been said here this evening and what's been said in the past. The trajectory we're on, providing significant large subsidies from our general fund to the recreation center, is not sustainable. At the same time, I do see great value in the facility, and I'm willing to do my part and fight for its preservation and long-term viability. I think 6 months is the appropriate amount of time to engage with regional stakeholders, try to develop new partnerships, pursue new initiatives that improve the viability of the rec center from both an operational perspective and provide us the capital to enhance or expand the amenities in the future to meet the needs of a growing, diverse community. I would also echo the sentiments of Councilmember Rice, which is, I think it's really incumbent upon those of us in elected positions or in leadership positions more broadly, that would include both elected and appointed, to share a positive vision for the rec center and to be optimistic about its future. I try my best to do that. I strongly encourage residents, if you're not a member, to check out the rec center, to visit our facility, to take a tour, to understand what's offered there. And it's not just a weight room and gymnasium and pool and cardio center, but it's a number of classes. It's civic engagement. It's connecting with your neighbor. And like I said, I think it adds value to the community, and I'm hopeful that it can be preserved and improved in the years ahead and put on a more sustainable trajectory, so we're not having to have these conversations on a recurring basis. We have a motion on the floor moved by Rice, seconded by Lesh, simply to accept the recommendation from the Rec Center Task Force. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay.
Nay.
Ayes have it, and the motion carries 6-1. We move on to our last new business item, which is 25-200, special land use, 1271 Industrial Indoor Sports Training Facility. God bless you for hanging tight here, Director Adkin. This will be a motion to, I think there's a typo here, or is this correct? Is it to approve? Oh, excuse me. It's to approve the motion, to approve with conditions, postpone or not to approve the special land use at 1271 Industrial Drive, Saline, Michigan 48176, parcel number 18-12-31-120-014, -18-12-31-120-015, and 18-12-31-120-016.
Move to approve.
Okay, I think it was moved by Harmon and Lesh. Do you want to be the second? Sure. Thank you, sir. I'm going to start with Director Adkin and then defer to Councilmember Gearbaugh, who's our rep to the Planning Commission.
Yes, and I'd like to thank Ms. Jaski for hanging out there.
Yeah, God bless you. We appreciate you being here that side. Yeah.
That tonight, didn't you? Okay, so this is, excuse me, it's former site of Bank Supplies, northwest corner of the parcel, just off of Industrial Drive. It's a 3-unit building. They're gonna, I don't know that it's ever been separated, but that's why there's 3 separate parcel numbers. It was done as a condo development, so the property is just the building itself. It's for an indoor soccer training facility for the Saline Area Soccer Association. It's only going to be for their team unless sometime in the future they rent it out. The hours are only going to be nights and weekends, so the parking is not going to be, there's not going to be any overlap with parking with other businesses that are in the area. The building directly to the east is Saline Area Social Services. The number of parking spaces out there far exceed what they're going to need. They're estimating, I'll just round up to about 20 people, 15 of those being the athletes themselves, a couple of coaches, and then some parents. It's not going to be open to the public. There's not going to be any tournaments or events there. It's strictly for practice. There were no improvements to the outside of the building. Everything is going to be interior, so they have to go through the building permitting process. Other than that, it meets all the criteria for special land use. It's a good reuse of a building as opposed to it becoming vacant. So Planning Commission last Wednesday on the 10th recommended approval with a condition that any changes to the site plan, or excuse me, any changes to the operations there, other than what was proposed on their agenda or on their application, that they would have to come back for amendment to their special land use.
Pretty clear. Mr. Gearbaugh, anything you'd like to add?
The only thing is, I do want to make sure that we say approved with conditions. The motion was approved, so just to clarify that.
Yeah, I'm assuming, thank you.
That's for us, Mr. Atkins. It's not, you're fine, what we recommended from Planning Commission. We just needed to clarify.
Yeah, I'm assuming Councilmember Harmont, Councilmember Lesh, you're approving, noting the conditions that were added by the Planning Commission, not additional conditions from this body.
Correct.
Okay, everyone clear then on that?
And just to clarify, the reason we put that on, it's similar to what we did with Michigan Academy in the event that should there be any change or heavier use on it, which in their situation with Michigan Academy was having tournaments and that type of thing, which would cause problems with their neighboring parking and such. Other than that, I'd asked if there was any concerns related to the site itself in terms of needing to be fixes or improvements, whatever, and we were assured by the applicant there's an HOA that manages the property, so if there's any concerns, they'll be addressed by them at that point in time.
Very good. Would the applicant care to make any statements this evening?
I'm here to answer questions.
Very good. Let me just say, before I open up for questions, I also served on the Planning Commission. It was a very short Planning Commission meeting. I think it was less than a half hour. This was pretty cut and dry. And as Mr. Director Adkin indicated, I think it's a good use for the facility. And just again, state for the record, Bank Supplies is not leaving the Saline community. They purchased a much larger facility that they're investing heavily in and hope to be operational within the first quarter of 2026. So welcome you to Saline. I'm sure this motion will pass this evening, and we wish you good luck in the months and years ahead. Are there questions for Director Adkin? Ms. Dillon.
Thank you. Does it matter, is it just any sport, or is it specifically to soccer?
This is going to be for
Specifically,
soccer.
I know this is soccer, but could they have any other sport in there?
No, the way that the floor plan is set up, the practice area is not going to be large enough for anything else really. The building is just over 9,500 square feet, and there's going to be offices, bathrooms on the main floor. So no, it's pretty much it.
Okay. I was just looking for other opportunities that are indoor facilities. Thank you.
Additional questions? Any discussion on the motion? It's been properly moved by Harmont, seconded by Lesh to approve, noting the conditions included or recommended by the Planning Commission. All those in favor of approving say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously 7-0. Thank you very much. Good luck to you. Appreciate your time this evening. We transition to the discussion portion of the agenda. First up is reports and other announcements, including updates from boards, committees, commissions, and task forces. Again, I'll begin with Councilmember Lesh.
Arts and Culture meeting will be this Thursday at 4:30.
Okay. Councilmember Seal?
3 o'clock this Thursday is the cemetery board, correct? What's been canceled? Okay, sorry.
Do you have an environmental commission meeting on Wednesday evening, Mr. Seal?
I understand that.
Yeah.
Do have an environmental commission meeting.
Your last one.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, I've neglected to say this, but I just wanted to say to my fellow colleagues on council right now that through the years we've had some tough issues. We've had some difficult problems that we've faced. I think we've always come up with reasonable solutions. We may not have always agreed on exactly what the proper thing was to do, but I respect the fact that we always acted like gentlemen and gentlewomen with one another, and when the day was done and the discussion was over, we still remain friends. And I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seal. Appreciate those remarks. Mayor Pro Tem Dillon reports other announcements, updates from boards, committees, commissions, or task forces.
Thank you. The Cable Commission met last week, and we continue to move forward with, right now, we're doing some cataloging of assets. We're doing some disposal of some old assets. And we are still awaiting repair of the fiber optic line that was unfortunately severed, so the cable channel is still not up and running. It's in process, but all of the city council, school board, and community meetings and activities are available either on the city's or the school's YouTube channels. In the meantime, Urban County met this week, and there was a big focus. We are still trying to work on plans for disbursement of funds and how those allocations are going to work. And also with the colder weather, notifications of the warming centers being open, the daytime and the evening ones, and other resources that are available that we will put online for people to have.
Thank you. Councilmember Gearball, reports or other announcements?
Just a couple. Both again, a little more on the asset management group we met last Friday. We received a very interesting report, a preliminary report based on assessment of our water treatment plant and the capacities and things of that nature, and including potential options that may be involving Yucca. It's looking like even that still have a high price tag on it. That probably will be coming to us in February, I believe, or March, something like that. So council will see that. It's a very informative document. It helps us understand, the capacity of our wells and of our reverse osmosis and all that. So we know that we have that capacity, or what we need to do in the future to expand or address those kind of needs. And then the risk management group met. We're kind of trying to change our focus a little bit, working with City Manager Swallow to reduce the number of critical concerns down to a manageable amount of most priority, and probably 25 of them that which staff can work towards as part of our risk management and our strategic plan, so that there's more clear direction on what they're working towards. And then just one last thing I forgot, just FYI, apparently we had a heater fail on what they call the rocket ship, which is the odor abatement, part of the odor abatement equipment, and the pipe froze and the valve broke, and unfortunately that's going to have to be fixed. It'll take a little bit to do on that, but we're looking at those kind of things, and hopefully in the future identifying ways to use technology to leverage that and avoid that kind of failure.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Rice?
All my meetings are tomorrow. I've been out of town for a couple weeks, so TBD.
Councilmember Harmon?
We do not have a Historic District Commission meeting on Thursday. I do want to put a plug in for my water advisor. If anybody out there has not had a chance, please do yourself a favor and download that app. There's the time of year for water leaks, and this is a great way to, with the cost of utilities going up with water and sewage, it's important to keep an eye on those things, and just one running toilet can really run up the bill. So the water advisor is an app that you can go in real time and look at what your water usage is, and it might be able to save you some headache in the future.
Very good.
May I interject? Because perfect example, we left to go overseas for 2 weeks. I got an alert on my phone that said, we've detected a leak. I asked a neighbor to go into the house to see what was going on. I suspected it was the downstairs toilet, and it sure was the downstairs toilet, but it was 2 days into our trip of 14 days. So it detected it within 48 hours, noticing that other things hadn't been running, but something had been running. So
saved you hundreds of dollars easy.
Saved me literally hundreds of dollars, and or a headache should something have happened to that toilet. So it was perfect.
Appreciate you sharing that. Davenport-Curtiss House, I can take this one, Mr. Swallen, if you want to add anything. We are nearing the time where we need to develop consensus on that issue as to whether or not council approves to close on the property or to walk away. Deputy City Manager L. Cole has finished her comprehensive analysis and matrix of the Curtiss Mansion. I have not had an opportunity to review it, but she and I did discuss it last week. It is a very thorough, comprehensive document, over 70 pages. It has been provided to the city manager, who will be reviewing it this week, and then the plan is to disseminate it to each of you by 5 p.m. this Friday, giving you ample time to review it and ask questions of staff, specifically the city manager or deputy city manager, in the ensuing weeks. The city clerk had sent out an email last week to put a hold on, I believe it was January the 8th, is that correct, Clerk Royal, for a special meeting? It's my understanding that that date will conflict with prior commitments that several council members have. So I discussed the matter briefly with Councilmember Gearbaugh and also with the city clerk and city manager. What I'd like to propose, if the 2026 council is amenable to this, is to have a special work meeting prior to our first meeting of the year on January 5th to ask any outstanding questions vis-a-vis the potential acquisition of the Davenport-Curtiss home. I would recommend meeting at 5:45 because we already have a commitment that Heidi McClellan, our former colleague, will be here at about 6:45 to take a group photo and individual photos if people would like to use them for official purposes. The understanding, of course, would be that we need to develop consensus no later than our subsequent council meeting, which will be on January the 12th. Good. Can I start with Councilmember Harmount? Would a work meeting at 5:45 on the 5th, would that work for you?
I believe it would, yes.
Okay. Councilmember Rice?
It works for me, but I actually liked having it on its own separate day should we go over an hour.
Okay.
It makes me a little nervous that we won't be able to get through it in an hour.
Yeah, I understand that, which was partially the genesis of trying to get you that document 2 weeks in advance.
So yeah, so long as my colleagues, try to get due diligence done before that meeting, that should be just fine for me.
Okay. Councilmember Gearbaugh?
Yeah, that's fine. My other recommendation would be is we could tag it on at the end of the meeting and just do it as part of our regular meeting. So we were concerned that, but I think an hour discussion.
Let's start with an hour discussion. That works for everybody. And if we need to, yeah, we can add it at the end or schedule a special meeting later that week. We just have to make a decision by the 12th. Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Dillon?
Yes, that works. Thank
Okay. And let me defer then to the two gentlemen who will be joining us come January. Mr. Del Orco, would a 5:45 work meeting on the 5th work for you?
Yes, provided we're also furnished with a copy of the...
Yep. Absolutely. You will get one on Friday as well. Okay. Mr. Halsch? Good. Okay. Very good. Anything else you'd like to add vis-a-vis the Davenport-Curtiss home?
I think the report will include, obviously, all the due diligence, environmental, structural. We'll have those reports included as part of that. We'll have cost estimates for ongoing maintenance in terms of as well as utilities, and then ultimately the financing mechanisms potentially that the city council could consider. But it is due to the purchase agreement, we do need to take action in January.
Very good. Would you like to provide an update on the DPW Director Search, Mr. Swallow?
Sure. As you're aware, we're working with the Pivot Group on updating the job description as well as working out details for advertising the position based on communications with current staff as well as some of the job duties, which included water and sewer, which is a little bit unique to our position. We did advertise as Department of Public Services. That is more a generally accepted title for individuals that have both the traditional DPW and water and sewer related, obviously our collection system for sewer and our distribution system for water. That advertisement has been posted on our city website, and we are working with the Pivot Group to advertise on the major statewide organizations, including MML, the APWA Michigan chapter. And so our goal was to have it out there for people to review over the holidays potentially. And then the deadline will be January 20th for preliminary resume submittals. At that time, Pivot Group will go through those reviews. And with that, we'd like to have the review committee with the council members included to review those resumes at that time. So I've spoken with a couple of you about serving on that recruitment committee, and I'll follow up with you probably before the holiday.
Appreciate that. So the position has not been posted to date?
It has.
Oh, it has. Okay. All right. Maybe if either HR or your department could follow up and provide us, council, that link, because
there's a link included in the Friday update.
Oh, very good. Okay. Then that will suffice. It's just the more people sharing it, the better. Okay. Questions for the city manager regarding the DPW director position? No? Okay. And then finally, downtown green space, I had been referring to it as town square. What vernacular are we?
Social gathering space.
Are we saying social gathering space? What is the
original scope?
What is the title?
Again, downtown green space is what I was provided with, but I'm open to changing that as we move into more of the I guess the public-facing aspect of it. So really,
the original subcommittee was social gathering space.
Okay.
Green space has a different connotation to me, but I actually like Town Square, but I'm not dying on that hill.
The key aspects we're working on right now are working with Mr. Kinley on finalizing the requirements for the MEDC grant. As you know, there's a notice of, or letter of intent, and so there's several follow-up items included with that, including more detailed project cost estimates and some preliminary design work that will need to be submitted to the state. The other thing we're working on is basically a development agreement that would be between Mr. Kinley and, or really Praxis Properties and the city to define the roles and responsibilities of each party and which aspects of the project that they're taking on. And then we're also working on developing the design further. There are some very conceptual designs that was submitted as part of obtaining the funding for the project. So we're taking that. We've actually have an agreement with Beckett Rader design firm that to take the concept designs and develop that into more preliminary design that could be used for more detailed cost estimates and ultimately construction.
Very good. And per Mr. Kinley's remarks this evening, I have been in communication with him. I've shared this with the city clerk and with the city manager. I do think it would be prudent and appropriate to invite him to a public meeting to do a more in-depth analysis and report out on where the project stands and to address any questions, concerns you may have. So I will work with staff and Mr. Kinley, and he will likely be on either the second meeting in January or first meeting in February as a special presentation. Are there any questions for the city manager? Mayor Pro Tem Dillon?
Thank you. I've been asking for this for a while, so I appreciate that it's kind of coming to fruition, is sort of understanding where we stand. There's some other drawings that are out there that are not at all what this body had looked at initially, and I think we need to understand what the city is committed to this project right now and how much staff time is going into it on behalf of Mr. Kinley, as well as, you know, what the city's interest is going to be in it. So I'm hoping for a comprehensive presentation, just debrief at some point in the very near future before this starts getting too far down the road. I know that we had talked about, there was mentioned at a previous town hall that there were going to be some drawings provided to the business and property owners. I want to just make sure that this side, that the city is sort of on the right page before we start putting information back out to the businesses, to the downtown and such, that, you know, we have a clear understanding of what the scope of this project is, because there is one other piece that we have not discussed, which is the pending issue with the other piece of property. And so I think that we need to, as a council, make some decisions before we get too far into this to make sure that we don't get to a point when we have an impasse.
Additional questions? Councilman Rice?
I just want to state that I am not of the belief that the city is doing anything on behalf of Mr. Kinley. I believe that the city is doing its due diligence on behalf of the downtown gathering space that City Council is committing $500,000 toward. Negative connotations toward the lead for this project, who is doing what I think is going to be some really fantastic, possibly award-winning work to create a gathering space in downtown Saline, just isn't helpful to anybody.
Any additional comments or questions? Well, we'll make sure that...
I hope that comment was not directed at me.
It was. You said on behalf of Mr. Kinley. This work isn't being done on behalf of Mr. Kinley. This work is being done on behalf of the city of Saline and a community asset that's going to be really cool when it's all said and done.
Ms. Rice, I was reiterating what the city manager had mentioned, in that he and staff were working on MEDC documentation for Mr. Kinley.
Well, we'll make sure that Mr. Kinley is invited and present at an upcoming meeting. In the interim, if people have questions, please direct those to either the city manager or their deputy city manager, who's also been working on this issue. Anything else you would like to add, City Manager Swallow?
No, we'll work obviously carefully to get some more details to council so that as we move forward, you're fully informed.
Very good. Clerk Royal, did you have a comment?
I have a public comments.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, I think we're getting to that right now, but I'm going to defer first to those who are in the audience. We come to our second public comment period, my friends. Under the Open Meetings Act, any person may come forward and make a comment to City Council. This public comment period will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Those wishing to speak are requested but not required to state their name and address for the record. Please note, City Council generally does not respond to questions during the public comment period, but we may be able to provide clarification or direction subsequent to your remarks. Are there any citizen comments from those in the audience this evening? You'll have 3 minutes. Come forward to the podium, make sure the green light is illuminated, and again, once you begin, you will have exactly 3 minutes. We welcome your comments or questions.
I'd just like to say, I really hope that if we get a chance to put out projects to bid in the future, that it's something that we do try to do, because it does give the local businesses a chance to do things that might be delegated to ones that we're more comfortable working with. Not that it's a problem. I know there's time restraints. And I'd like to just make a comment about the rec center that when we're thinking about it, I'd really like everyone to think about how close is the nearest indoor pool to Saline, and anyone who's doing water aerobics to strengthen themselves or get over injuries or anything, they're going to be driving that far during the bad winter months, because the furthest pool is pretty far, and I don't believe that the school's pool is open for community use. So it's just something to think on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate your comments. Any additional citizen comments from those in the audience this evening? Then let me defer to the city clerk. You have at least one written comment that, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hey folks, I'm Dan. I live on North End Arbor Street. Trying to be more involved here, so start off by just ruffling some feathers about the mansion thing. I think that, listening to a lot of the financial issues over the last meeting, or 2 or 3, there's a lot of discussion on small things like the culvert, or maintenance on the rec center, or things that are genuinely necessary or benefiting us, that it seems like there's always sort of this, we have to move this over to have funds for this, or we have to, prioritize things when we don't want to. And I think that this mansion, it seems like it's going to be a money pit. I don't know. It sounds like there's some due diligence done with this report that was mentioned. I don't know if the taxpayers will have the ability to see any of this or what the plan is with it, but the upkeep, and we're going to have, if we're going to use it for public events and things like that, that sounds like another full-time position just to manage all that, the upkeep, the event planning, everything down to, there's not going to be anyone in the house, we're going to have like pest control. Little things that I think will continue to accumulate that might not be looked at the moment, all expenses that are going to offset any revenue that we gain from this. So I just think with our increasing water bills and with these things that seemingly don't have the money for in the first place, that are genuinely necessary or benefiting the folks in town, this is something that we'd like to at least have some more clarity on, if this is something that y'all are interested in. I drive past it every day. I've driven past it for the last 10 years. I would love to step foot in that mansion, but I also pay almost $1,000 a month in property taxes and water bill, and it's getting unsustainable. So, thank you all for listening.
Appreciate your comments. Thank you very much. And let me just respond, if I may. You're absolutely correct. You should expect to see the comprehensive report that I made mention to earlier. It'll be disseminated to City Council by the end of this week, and likely put on minutes or documents on demand for public dissemination and review no later than the following, not the following Tuesday, not 2 weeks from tomorrow. So we would encourage you to take a look at that. And then, of course, the meeting that was made mention of earlier, a work meeting at 5:45 on the 5th, that's open to the public. We would welcome you to attend and provide comment. We will not be making a decision that night. Subsequent decision would come at the following meeting, which would be, again, a public meeting on January the 12th. Any additional citizen comments? Then I'm going to defer to Clerk Royal. You had a written comment, which the individual wanted to remark right at this time?
Yes.
Please.
The name is Remy Rich. Richard. It says, Mayor and City Council members, my name is Remy, and I am commenting, more accurately, protesting Agenda Item 25-179, water and sewer rates from the December 1st, 2025 meeting. The council recently voted 5-0 to approve significant water and sewer rate increases, 6.5% rise for water and 7.5% rise for wastewater, which are scheduled to go into effect in January 2026. This will bring Saline's rates to $5.95 per 1,000 gallons for water and to $16.04 per 1,000 gallons for sewer. The sewer rate alone is nearly double that of Ann Arbor, $8.99, and Pittsfield Township, $7.58. My family has lived in Saline since 2013, and we love this community, but our quarterly water and sewer bills, which are regularly $450 to $550 for a family of 4, have become nearly impossible to manage, and we are not alone. These rising costs are hitting retirees, disabled residents, and young families the hardest. My primary concern is simple. When is enough enough? At what point will the city recognize that these rates increases are becoming unsustainable for the people who live here? Does the city plan to keep raising rates until enough residents fall behind on their bills? Is there a cap? Will rates ever come back down after the wastewater treatment plant's debt and capital needs are finally met? Residents deserve clear, honest answers, not another explanation about this work has been needed for years, and rate hikes are the only way to afford it. Punishing residents now for the city's failure to manage budgets and infrastructure responsibly 20 years ago is unacceptable. And this leads to serious questions about spending priorities. Because if the city is telling us that water and sewer rates must keep rising, that families must absorb higher and higher bills each year, then how is it possible to justify discretionary spending on things like the rec center or the frankly absurd idea of purchasing Curtiss Mansion? These may be nice to have amenities, but they are not essential. They are not infrastructure. They are not life-sustaining services. And when residents are paying some of the highest wastewater rates in the region, choices like these raise very real questions about whether the city's priorities align with the needs of its taxpayers. To put it plainly, Saline cannot continue spending on extras when it still cannot afford the basics. Or as a good friend of mine said, how about we build the damn kitchen before we start remodeling it? This is not just about infrastructure. This is about sustainability and responsible governance. Residents want to know, what is the long-term plan? How will the city prevent these rates from climbing indefinitely? And why should taxpayers trust the city's financial stewardship when essential infrastructure is underfunded, but optional projects remain on the table? Saline is a wonderful community, and my family wants to remain here. But between property taxes and these escalating utility rates,
have to stop it there. We appreciate the comment. I'm assuming the individual emailed those remarks to you, Clerk Royal. I think it would be helpful if perhaps you could email the individual back, thank them for their comments this evening, and also provide them the support material that was provided to council at their last meeting when they discussed and debated water and sewer utility rates for the ensuing year. Mr. Swell, I'd also put you on the spot because some of the concerns and questions that were raised are very legitimate and valid. Can you speak to the distinction, though, between general fund dollars and utility funds that support water and sewer upgrades?
Sure. Both the water and sewer are designed as enterprise funds, which basically means that they should be self-sustaining. So the rates are directly associated with the cost of daily operations, so day-to-day staffing, chemical needs, equipment needs, and then the secondary component of that is the capital needs. And yes, I think we all have debated at length the significant capital needs related to sewer, which have driven some of those rates. But it is not advised and discouraged to utilize general fund dollars, which are used for other services in the city to support your utilities. And because in large part that those general fund dollars are, again, designated for other city services. And if you start pulling those away for your enterprise funds, that indicates that there is a significant issue there. So it is, again, highly advised that enterprise funds are self-supporting and that you do not utilize general fund dollars to supplement that, or if there's a need for that, it is only on a temporary basis.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's been confirmed to me by the treasurer and by the deputy city manager, who used to be the treasurer, that there are also statutory limitations on how you can transfer general fund dollars to enterprise funds. So, whether you like it or not, our hands to a certain extent are tied and our options are limited. Again, we appreciate the individual raising these concerns. Perhaps Clerk Roy, when you provide the individual the support material that was disseminated to council at the last meeting, you can also let the petitioner know that if they have additional questions, they're welcome to reach out to City Council or to the City Manager's office. Were there any additional written comments provided in advance of tonight's meeting which the individual wanted their remarks read at this time? Okay. Anything for Mr. Gearbaugh?
Just real quick, just clarifying, when we have public comments, it seems like we're putting the topics, but we don't put the name of the individual giving the public comments in the minutes. Have we stopped doing that, or?
Make sure the green light is illuminated.
We put down what they're commenting on, but we do not put down who it is that's speaking.
I guess because we asked that in our public comment thing, I would think it'd be reasonable that we should be putting the name down. We used to do it, and I asked that previously too. I don't know why we stopped.
It was recommended through our, the MML, or not the MML, but our class that we have every so often for.
Parliamentary procedure? Yeah, I'm not
a legal reason for
yeah,
that?
no, I'm not an expert on, actually, I'm not an expert on any subject. I have a little bit more knowledge than your average person on parliamentary procedure. To Mr. Gearbaugh's point, no, there would be no legal requirement that would prevent us from stating the individual's name. Again, there is no formal requirement that an individual articulate their name during either public comment period. However, I concur. If the individual gives a name, I think we should at least give a first initial and a last name.
And sometimes they do, and sometimes I don't hear them. So
which is
it's hard to hear something.
Yeah, point taken, understood. If they stand up and it's clearly articulated, I think we should add the name. Certainly, if in the petitioner's case earlier this evening, if they provided a written comment and then put their name, I think it's best to just enumerate that as part of the minutes.
I'm happy to do that.
With that, this is our last council meeting of the year. It has been an eventful and productive year. I thank everybody for their service. Again, we thank our outgoing council members and wish them well in their future endeavors, and we very much look forward to working with council members-elect Delorco and Hausch. I'm not real into Christmas. It's not my trip, but I wish everybody a wonderful holiday season and a happy new year, and wish you good health and happiness on behalf of myself and City Council in 2026. If there's nothing further, would our outgoing council members like to make a motion to adjourn at 9:24?
So moved.
Moved by CEO, his last motion as a council member. And Les, are you going to second? Thank you very much. All those in favor of adjourning at 9:25 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.